It was a foggy autumn night, and our pumpkins seemed to be alive. The weather was cool, and the haystack seemed to be moving. When I threw all of the straw out of the way, bats flew out of the old shack. The acorns on the tree were all gone. Leaves blew all in my face, twisting my hair. Then I saw a big orange scarecrow out in the cornfield. The foliage of leaves were falling down on me. There were lots of spider webs on the old haunted house. There was a harvest of pumpkins in front of the old haunted house. So I picked one and carried it home. That night I dreamed of the adventures I had of bats, leaves, haystacks, acorns, and pumpkins. That morning when I woke up, I ran outside and looked for the haunted house. The pumpkins and shed, but it was all gone. I ran through the woods looking for the top of the haunted house, but I knew it was gone. I wanted so badly just one more memory of the fun I had. Just then, I remembered the pumpkin I picked, so I ran home and saw it sitting there where I had left it the last time. That morning, I thought of the pumpkin, how it sits there quietly minding its own business. I love carving pumpkins, so I thought I would do that. I asked my mom, and she said, "That's fine with me." So I ran inside and got the carving kit I got last year. Then I carved the pumpkin to make it look like a haunted house. Then I thought of the haunted house I saw that night, and I tried to carve that one. Then, when I had just finished carving my pumpkin, I saw the tip top of the house, and I smiled. Then I said, "I'll find you again tomorrow." Coming in, the leaves were changing. The farmer was planning his harvest. He had on a huge coat because the weather was changing and it was cold. His wife was decorating the pumpkins. She put out acorns for his squaws. The farmer had put out a scarecrow so that animals won't get his crop. The scarecrow always loved this time of year because he could scare away the bats and crows. He was dressed in overalls and an orange t-shirt. He could always look at the pretty pumpkins because he was high up. Sometimes he got spider webs on him, but the farmer always got them off. One day the scarecrow came upon this scary bat. They talked to each other, and the bat began to get fury in his eyes. The scarecrow said, "Please don't get mad," but the bat got even more mad the next day. The scarecrow had moved to the haystack the next day, and he accidentally sat on the bat. He didn't mean to, though. Finally, the bat flew away. And the next day, the scarecrow got some visitors. One little girl pulled on the scarecrow's legs, and the scarecrow screamed. The little girl screamed too. The scarecrow told the little girl not to be scared. He was nice. So the last day of visitors, this big boy looked weird. He told the scarecrow that he looked weird. That really hurt Scarecrow's feelings. He told himself to be bigger and bolder the next year. So the next year he was bigger and bolder. He had grown some, and the farmer was happy to have him back again. The wife decorated some pumpkins the next year too, and the foliage was pretty. It had some oranges, yellows, and some reds.
Very good.
It was a foggy night. There was a full moon. Bats were awake. Spider webs were hanging from pumpkin to pumpkin. There were 5 kids outside: Bob, Angie, John, Phil, and Diane. The kids were making the best out of a bad situation, and then Bob leaves the group. He sees a scarecrow without a head, and it pops out of a hole in the ground. Bob knows Morse code, so he builds a fire and sends the code SOS. Other kids know Morse code, and Diane comes to save him, but she gets stuck with the monster of the white haystack. She sends SOS. John comes to save her, but he gets stuck with the freaky Flodge monster and calls Ghoulbusters. So they had came, but their ticket was for free Ghoulbusters. It does not work on Wednesday through Monday. It's Friday, so the other kids had seen SOS. They went to get Phil's dog, Sparky. Sparky saves him and brings him home. Their moms tell them They were just in time for hot chocolate. And the kids tell about what happened. The end.
Every time it was Halloween, I woke up. I saw some spider webs in my bedroom. Some bats, too. I went to tell my parents Happy Halloween. Somehow they weren't there. I looked everywhere and they weren't there. All it was is a big, big, big pumpkin with leaves all around it. Then I came near. It said, "Don't come near me." Then I came near it. It sucked me up and never let me out. The weather was cold. It was 80 degrees below. The scarecrow was orange, green, pink, purple, blue, and black. Acorns started to fall on me. Everywhere I went, they weren't falling on anyone except me. I found foliage and I was back home. Haystacks were on the house. No one had haystacks on their house. I had to harvest my own pumpkin all by myself. Autumn is in October. Soon it is very cold. I went trick-or-treating with my friends. They were laughing at me. The whole entire way we were going there, my neighborhood was all making fun of me. The next day, all of the spooky stuff was gone. My parents were back home. I was happy to see them. Happy to see my mom and dad. We all snuggled up and had fun. The end.
Oh, sorry. My name is Morphe. I'm just mad at my brother Golf. He messed up my project for me fall foliage. You see, here on Planet Shneef we have these special acorns and we have to make a project with those. I made some bats in the air and Golf broke them. That's why I'm mad at him. They were orange. It had tons of spider webs on it and a big scarecrow. Hey, Morphe again. I just wanted to tell you I fixed my project just in time. I can't wait to go to the pumpkin harvest and place this baby on the big haystack. You know, with it being autumn and the weather makes the leaves go everywhere. But I doubt there will be a problem. No, it can't because the weather is fine outside. Okay, I'm going to the festival. This isn't scary. Morphe just walked in a dark forest and BAM! A baseball bat just hit Morphe in the head. Ah! Morphe screamed. It was a witch, a green goblin face beast. Okay, that's a bit much, Witch said. My real name is Yolanda. Fine. Yolanda took Morphe to her sugar plum house on Daffodil Street, and Morphe was never seen again. Morphe's last words. Oh, come on, I just wanted to win. Ooh, is this stew? Awkward. Yolanda said, tasting the stew.
I thought it was just another average autumn afternoon, but it was the opposite. The weather had changed and there were more spider webs than usual, and the haystack had gotten bigger without anyone touching it. I looked over at the scarecrow. I could have swore I saw its eyes following me. It must be my imagination, I thought. I watched the squirrel store his acorns. He would crunch the leaves, but then I realized that a squirrel isn't heavy enough to crunch the leaves. Something very spooky was going on, and I wanted to figure it out. My mom made me go to bed. She said it would have to wait until morning. Late that night, I called my best friend, Lynn. She has answers to everything, so maybe she could calm me down. But she even didn't have an explanation for this. So I just toughed it out for the night, which was really hard to do. The next morning, I met Lynn on my front porch. We made video tests to see if our house was haunted. Sure enough, it was. I was so scared, I ran all the way to my grandmother's house. I told her what happened, and we did some research. Actually, our house wasn't haunted. Our whole neighborhood was haunted. I asked my neighbors if anything unusual had happened, and it had. We told construction workers, and they tore down our neighborhood, and we moved to another neighborhood that wasn't haunted. Hope the ghosts don't follow us. The end.
I was at my house with my mom, dad, and my sister Sarah. So I was going to my room and when I saw Slenderman, and I go to the living room. So when I look back, I see Slenderman. So I rubbed my eye. I rubbed my eyes. He was not there. So some bad weather came, but it was a sunny day. But it started to rain. It was weird that a storm came over. I thought that maybe it was just a storm, but no. We heard that some people had been disappearing when they were alone. So they said to stay together, so we did. There was always some spiderwebs on our window. So for some reason, a pumpkin hit on our window and it leaves pumpkin guts. We went to bed, so in the middle of the night, we heard a scream from next door. So we go over and we see that she is froze. So we call a doctor. He comes over and says she is just passed out. She will be fine, so we are just going to take her and keep her at our hospital, okay? So we get a call the next day that says, get out or suffer the consequences. So we do, but when we get home, our house is not there. But there was a note that said, Dear the Woods family, I have moved your house, but I have got you a new one with all of your stuff, and it's so have a nice day until the end. Signed, Slenderman.